Alright, so moving on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my top 5 boxing lightweight fighters currently in the sport of boxing today. So, before I get deeper into my list, this list is not a pound for pound status. This list is currently how I feel these fighters are, or who is the best top 5 fighters right now at the lightweight division. The list consists of what you've accomplished so far at 135 and the opponents you've beaten at 135. So I'll be sharing my list. I'll share 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really fast, and then I'll break down why each fighter deserves to be ranked at the positions that they are on my list. So top 5 fighters right now in the lightweight division. I have Gervonta Davis at 1, Vasily Lomachenko at number 2, Shakur Stevenson at number 3, William Zepeda at number 4, Frank Martin at number 5. And right now, in terms of who has the belts right now, out of the 5 I just said, Gervonta Davis has the WBA title, Vasily Lomachenko has the IBF title, Shakur Stevenson has the WBC world title. But Gervonta Davis, I do believe he's the best lightweight fighter right now because he has speed, he has boxing ability, he's explosive, his boxing IQ. And the reasons right now, those are the reasons why I do believe he's the best right now at 135. Because like I said last week on the Combat Series, I just feel like his style right now is unbeatable at 135 or at 140 right now. And the way how Gervonta Davis moves in that boxing ring, how he dissects film, dissects his opponents. In between rounds, he's great at making adjustments. And I just feel like his style right now makes him the best at 135. And plus, he's putting together a pretty good resume at this division. I mean, I'm looking at his wins, looking at Frank Martin. I'm looking at Leo Santa Cruz. I'm looking at Rolly Romero. I'm looking at Pitbull Cruz. I'm looking at, even though he brought him up to 135, I'm looking at Hector Garcia, who at the time was a pretty good fighter, former 130 champion, WBA champion. But I just feel I don't really see any flaws in Gervonta Davis' game. I mean, he's incredible. He has an incredible chin. He could take a punch. He's willing to take punishment in order to dish out punishment. And looking at what he's doing right now, I mean, he's fought a lot of guys with a lot of power, and I feel like right now Gervonta Davis, he's only going to continue to get better, and I feel like he's the best lightweight fighter right now. So I have him at number 1. Now, number 2, I have Vasily Lomachenko at number 2. Right now, he's the reigning defending IBF world champion at this division. And let's call a spade and call it what it is. I'll give Vasily Lomachenko his flowers. I do believe that he is a future Hall of Famer. The man has been a magician in the boxing ring. And he's a very skillful fighter, very crafty fighter, has explosive power. And he's a great fighter fighting at different angles. And he has incredible footwork. And right now he's showing that he still has aspirations to potentially be an undisputed champion at 135 after he just collected some gold, defeating George Kambosos last month in the sport of boxing. But there's a reason why I have him at number 2 behind Gervonta Davis on my list. It's due to him losing some big fights, the 2 biggest fights that he's been a part of since being at the lightweight division. He lost against Teofimo Lopez by unanimous decision in 2020. That was all Teofimo Lopez's fight. And lastly, his controversial loss against Devin Haney. He lost that fight by unanimous decision as well last year, 2023. A lot of people say Vasily Lomachenko won, but I am one of those few people that do believe that Devin Haney won that fight. So that is the reason why I have him behind Gervonta Davis. I hope, fingers crossed, we get that fight. It seems like Bob Arum and Al Hammond are open to working together to make that fight, that dream fight that we should have got a long time ago. But it's better to get it than never. So it could potentially happen by the end of 2024, in the second half, by November, December. But I have Vasily Lomachenko number 2 on my list. Now, number 3, I have Shakur Stevenson. The reason why I have Shakur Stevenson, a lot of people might argue that Shakur Stevenson should be swapped between himself and Lomachenko 3 and 2 on my list. But I have Shakur Stevenson at number 3 right now, because Lomachenko has done more at this division than Shakur Stevenson. And Shakur Stevenson has only had 2 fights at the lightweight division thus far. I mean, since moving up to this division, former unified champion at 130, but he has that impressive outing, his impressive debut, when he defeated Yoshino in the beginning part of 2023. He earned a knockout victory, knocking him out in the 6th round of that fight. And right now, in his second fight, he's the reigning defending WBC world champion. He defeated Edwin De Los Santos to win the vacant title after Devin Haney moved up to 140. But I have to say, That was one of the most disappointing championship fights that I ever seen as a boxing fan. Between Shakur Stevenson and Edwin De Los Santos, the stats and the box compute, or whatever that thing is called, that shows all the punching stats and categories for fights, that was ugly. And that was a stinker performance. I really hope that Shakur Stevenson has a better outlook against Artem Adatunian in a few weeks. And I wish nothing but the best for Shakur Stevenson at this division, because we all know, hands down, he always wanted to fight the best of the best. And unfortunately, he hasn't got a big fight yet. But there are some dream fights still to be made in this division. I like a fight against Pitbull Cruz if he wants it. I like a fight with him against William Zepeda, Frank Martin if he stays around, Vasily Lomachenko, Gervonta Davis. So Shakur Stevenson does have a bright future at this division. Number 4 was William Zepeda. The reason why I have William Zepeda on this list, a lot of people might be unfamiliar with his game and his boxing abilities, but William Zepeda is a great Mexican fighter, and I think he's pretty good. I think he does have a bright future, and I do believe he could be a cash cow with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions if pushed properly. But William Zepeda does have a lot of power, and he's good at pressuring his opponents in the boxing ring. Now, William Zepeda he's becoming a veteran. I mean, he's 30-0, 26 victories come away of knockout. The only problem why he's not a household name, or why he's not officially put on the map to a lot of boxing casuals, is I don't think Oscar De La Hoya truly believes in him yet. And that's a problem when your promoter doesn't believe in you and push you to have these big-time fights to see what you're made of, win or loss. Every fighter has a fighter's chance, a punching chance in a fight. So I have yet to see Oscar De La Hoya truly test William Zepeda at this division. I mean, it's well documented that he ducked Shakur Stevenson last year because Oscar De La Hoya believed that he was not ready to fight Shakur Stevenson last year. And there's some big fights for William Zepeda to be made at this division as he continues to get more experience, get more wins under his belt. I'm looking at some fights that he got. A future fight with Gervonta Davis would be very entertaining to me. A future fight with Shakur Stevenson, whenever he's ready, would be entertaining to me. Frank Martin, I think that would be an entertaining fight as well. Pitbull Cruz, if he wants to come back down from 140 to 135. Those are some interesting fights. So I have to say he has a bright future, but Oscar De La Hoya better start believing in his boy. Now, I do have Frank Martin still at number 5, and I do believe, despite the loss last week to Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin could be a world champion at 135 or 140 very, very soon in the sport of boxing. And I think he did pretty good against Gervonta Davis last week. I'm not gonna lie in front of you guys. I think, me being a big Gervonta Davis fan, I think Frank Martin gave everything he could to Gervonta Davis, and he gave him a run for his money because he controlled the fight for a good amount of time for a long period of time and boxed pretty well up into the knockout. And we all know how I feel about the adjustments coming from Derek James. I don't feel like that Frank Martin adjusted well in the second half of that fight, and don't get me started on the ropes thing again. But I think Frank Martin does have a good boxing style, and I like he has a lot of power, he has good footwork, he's explosive, has a good jab that has a lot of pop to it. I do believe that he could be a problem at one of these divisions, and I'm looking forward to seeing what his team decides to do next moving forward, whether he stays on 135. There's some money fights still to be made there. He has some fights. He could fight William Zepeda, Pitbull Cruz. He could fight Keyshawn Davis. The boxing community was talking about that last year. I think that'd be an intriguing fight with him and Keyshawn Davis. Maybe if he could get back up in the ranks, Shakur Stevenson. I don't see a rematch with him and Gervonta Davis happening, only because Gervonta Davis has stated he has a 7-fight deal right now, and I feel like we as boxing fans, and Gervonta Davis owes it to himself how he would shape and look up against the elite guys, Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, maybe Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney fights if he moves up to 140. So I don't think we'll ever see a Tank rematch unless something is very intriguing and a really good reason for it. But I think Frank Martin can be a world champion in either division. But those are my top 5 lightweight fighters currently right now in the sport of boxing.